Hi guys. So the placeholder politician Iain Duncan Smith was invited onto Julia Hartley-Brewer to explain why the Brexit negotiations are coming off the rails. So let's hear what he had to say.
That's another big story today, Brexit. Well, we get Brexit over the line over the weekend, by Monday, by the 31st of December. Who knows? Deadlines keep coming and deadlines keep being passed. Let's talk to Iain Duncan Smith, who's the former Conservative Party leader and, of course, a leading Brexiteer as well. So, Iain, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Right. Well, that makes a change, talking about vaccines and tears for a change. But let's talk about this. Talks heading for a showdown. We understand that the UK side are claiming that the EU keep throwing spanners in the works, making new demands. This idea that President Macron is threatening to veto over fishing rights. Do you think we're going to get a deal? And if not, why not?
I don't know, really. It's impossible to say. I personally would rather have no deal.
Of course he would prefer to have no deal because he would not be affected by no deal. You know who would be affected by no deal most? People at the bottom. The same people that Iain Duncan Smith threw into universal credit. Iain Duncan Smith, the guy who, the creator, the architect of the massive suffering, which is universal credit. So when he says, well, personally, I don't have a problem with no deal. Of course he won't, because he will not be affected by it. Poor people will. The working class will. He will not.
Then have a deal that sells the past. The government made some very strict obligations in the manifesto that there would be take back control of our laws, obviously our money, our borders, our fishing.
So to take back control of our laws, which laws, Iain? What laws? Can you describe some of these laws that you're taking back control of? Our borders? Okay, but you do understand that when Brexiteers were saying that, during the pandemic, the European Union will not allow individual member states to reimpose borders. Well, they did actually. So the Brexiteers were wrong there. So what control are you taking back? Money? Does Iain Duncan Smith believe that the UK is a member of the Eurozone? Does Iain Duncan Smith not know what currency the UK uses? And then, of course, fish. Let's get to fish.
And not enter into some kind of single market rules-based order, which we have to obey the rules of the European Union and have them adjudicated by the courts. So I think these are big issues we slide forward. I have heard a lot going on at the moment about they were nearish to a deal. There were some compromises, what rather worries me. But now I gather they've moved away again because the Europeans have tightened up on their demands.
So once again, and Julie is going to raise this point, there were compromises that I'm worried about. You don't know what compromises there were. There were compromises. I don't want us to compromise. What sort of negotiations has Iain Duncan... Sir Iain, Sir Iain, because that's important. What negotiations has he ever conducted, been part of? Does he believe that one side compromise and the other don't? Of course he would believe that we hold all the cards. The European Union have to fold. We tell them what to do. They're the ones who compromise, not us. We're leaving, but they're the ones that have to compromise.
Well, that's it. I mean, look, there are going to be compromises and there are going to be aspects that we give away, which we don't want to give away. That's the nature of treaties and compromises. It's whether the whole deal is worth it. But everything on the EU side does seem to hinge on this idea that the French in particular don't seem to accept the principle that they don't have a right to our fishing waters. I don't know whether they use the same line with the Canadians, the Japanese, when they did trade deals with them, which they said, we have a right to fish in your waters.
What? Does she believe that the European Union made a demand of the Japanese, we demand to fish in your fishing waters? They're like, sorry, what? Yeah, because we're going to ask the British if we can fish in their fishing waters. And, we want to be consistent. So we're going to ask, I wonder, when they're going to do a trade negotiation with Australia, they're going to, we demand to fish in your fishing waters in Australia. Like, do these people not understand geography, basic geography?
The maritime rules are very, very clear. We are an independent nation state. Those waters belong to us. Now, we can choose.
No, once again, what she's trying to do is she's trying to create confusion here. She's trying to say that, yes, they want to control our waters. No, The waters were never under discussion. Your waters are your waters. As I've said before, this is a very complicated issue. You have fish that start off, baby fish, I don't know the technical term. They start off in maybe European Union member state waters, and they move and they grow in British waters, and they're caught in British waters. But that's a separate issue. The issue here we're talking about is fishing rights.
As part of the negotiation to give away rights to fish in those waters. But see, it's the idea that the starting point for the French is that they have a right intrinsically to keep those rights to fishing that they had when we were in the EU. I find that utterly bizarre.
See, of course you do, because you don't understand, and you couldn't be bothered to actually understand what the situation is truly. Now, I want to show you, I've used this report before, and it's a very interesting, it's a report from 2018 by Greenpeace. They carried out this investigation into who owns the fishing rights and the quotas in British waters. Because Brexiteers will try to sell the idea that, individual fishermen have those rights. And they, those fishermen have the right to fish wherever they want because they're British fishermen and it's in British waters. No, that's not the reality on the ground. So this investigation says here, this is a summary of the investigation. The five largest quota holders control more than a third of UK fishing quota. 4 of the top 5 belong to families on the Sunday Times rich list. Not individual fishermen, not, little family businesses. These are people, it's actually top 5 is owned by people who've probably never even seen a fishing boat. Never mind actually boarded one and went out and caught fish. The 5th is a Dutch multinational whose UK subsidiary, North Atlantic Fishing Company, controls a quarter of England's fishing quota. Now, most fish, it seems, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most fish is caught in Scotland. It's not actually caught in England. But you see here, a quarter of England's fishing is caught by a Dutch multinational. Do you start to see the problem here? British fishermen don't hold much of many of the rights to actually fish, and they're actually owned by either Dutch companies, foreign companies, or they're owned by rich individuals in the UK, not by individual fishermen. Around half of England's quota is ultimately owned by Dutch, Icelandic, and Spanish interests. So around half. More than half of the top 25 quota holders have directors, shareholders, or vessels partners who were convicted of offences in Scotland's £63 million blackfish scam, a huge sophisticated fraud that saw trawlermen and fishing processors working together to avoid quota limits and land 170,000 tonnes of undeclared herring and mackerel. So these people are not operating, not all of these are operating under the law. And of course you have the European Union who's trying to enforce these laws. The UK, after Brexit, will it be up to Boris Johnson and his government to decide whether they enforce these laws. One of the flagships of the Brexit flotilla, which sailed up the Thames in 2016 to demand the UK's exit from the European Union, is among the UK's top 10, the UK top biggest quota holders. So this is, once again, this is not a grassroots. Brexit was never a grassroots movement. It was about rich people wanting to destroy the UK industry and then sweep in and buy things up at a very low price. This is a power grab. I think what's taking place is there are certain industries or businesses or very rich people who are manipulating the situation for their own personal gain. As I said in the video, Iain Duncan Smith will be perfectly fine, deal or no deal. These people, some of them may take a hit if the deal goes the wrong way in their opinion. A lot of these are probably pushing for no deal. Around 29% of the UK's fishing quota is directly controlled by the rich list families. Some of these families have investments in dozens of other fishing companies, meaning companies holding 37% of the UK quota are wholly or partly owned by these rich list families. So I'm just going to show you the names of some of the people on this rich list. It's down here at the bottom. Of course, I'll leave a link in the description of the video. So who are these families? Who are the families on the rich on this fishing rich list? We have Alexander Buchan and family are ranked 804th on the 2018 Sunday Times rich list. We have Jan Collum and family ranked 882nd. Robert Tate and family ranked 980th. Andrew Marr and family were ranked 567th, and Sir Ian Wood and family ranked 77th on the rich list with an estimated worth of £1.7 billion. A fortune built largely on oil and gas services. Sir Ian's fishing business, JW Holdings, holds 1% of the UK's fishing quota and has minority investments in businesses and partnerships that hold a further 2.3%. These are the people who own the fishing rights to, partly the fishing rights to in the UK, not individual fishermen. So when the Brexiteers are talking about defending fishing rights, they're defending these people. They're not defending the working class. They're not defending the poor or even individual fishermen. They don't give a crap about them. They care about these people. It has always been the case, and it always will be the case. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.